Siemens, you're once again on my radar for a video. Siemens, the one responsible for creating the infamous locomotive known as the Charger. But one thing has stuck out that absolutely pisses me off as of late. And it's the fact that Siemens sucks at painting Chargers. And apparently there's a justification for all of this. It's the fact that Siemens just does not paint the vents of these Chargers, which leads into the rabbit hole of all the paint schemes that originally weren't exactly supposed to be. And of course, we're going to start with the infamous one being Brightline. While I couldn't find any Brightline concept paint schemes, you could pretty much tell that this was Siemens doing. Just by looking at the yellow, or at least where the vents are, you could pretty much see that the paint scheme lines up with the vents, or rather I should have said this entire time that Siemens just does not paint them in multicolors. Zooming in onto this vent in particular, you can see that part of it is well outside of this yellow diagonal line, but because Siemens just wouldn't paint it into another color, aka the multicolor mentioned, it's stuck with yellow, even outside of the diagonal line. It looks weird up close, I know. Even this white vent here is protruding onto what looks like a color gradient down below just by a little bit, but again, they won't even paint the vent. It even seems like they're not even painting the vent frame. That's just one example, and it's honestly not even that dire compared to what I'm about to show you. Another example that I'm going to highlight, and probably is the biggest one, is Coaster. Now, when Coaster pretty much hinted that it was getting Chargers, it also unveiled concepts for its new paint scheme. Notice how the current paint scheme is not even on here. To be honest, the first and second concepts here are a little over the top, to be honest, but still the fact is, what I'm going to tell you is still damning to the entire concepts. If you notice here that all three paint schemes have the Charger vents intersected by multicolors, you already know exactly where this is going. Siemens probably looked at this and said hell no, and just went with whatever they decided, which ended up being this. This singular choice resulted in the coaches following after, and as of now, even Sprinter is following this. Oh my god. The power in one manufacturer's hands. This really comes to show the current limitations manufacturers have, even with such a thing such as paint schemes. Anyways, next let's look at Via Rail. This is the concept. As you can see, it's pretty simple, just black, yellow, and gray. But as you can see with the Charger, it intersects the vents, meaning that the vents would have to be multicolor. And that's an absolute no-no with Siemens, so what did we get? This. It keeps some similarities with the original concept, but with this, there's just a huge, and I mean huge, gray section in the middle which encompasses all the vents. Now granted, the coaches are pretty much the same, but this is not about the coaches, not even the cab car, it's about the Charger. Now granted, Siemens was, or probably continues to be backlogged with locomotive orders, or rather just orders in general, so doing this is probably the fastest way to get them out, but still, come on! But if you reason with the fact that they're backlogged and getting the stuff out is priority, let's look at an example that you probably didn't even know existed as of now. Ontario Northland. Ontario Northland, which many of you probably have heard that name for the first time, had a passenger service called the Northlander. This service ran from Toronto up into the northern parts of Ontario. Anyways, as you can see here, this is what the typical consist used to look like before this service was discontinued in the 2010s. This train service is soon to come back with the new Siemens Charger sets, similar to Via's sets. Now you might think I'm gonna go on a super rant with the vent issue, but honestly, I don't think it's really a problem here. It looks fine. But one thing I'm gonna highlight is this ever so slightly tiny detail which is going to be annoying me. But anyways, here's the Charger. And here's the concept. Charger, concept. Charger, concept. Charger, concept. Charger, concept. Charger, concept. Charger, concept. Do you see it? No? Well, I'm gonna give you this basic, super basic rundown. White logo, on a yellow body. There's a reason Ontario Northland went with a navy blue logo on a yellow body. Contrast. Something that Siemens should have probably known? And also the numbers too. Hello, identification, we want to be able to see that? You know, Siemens, hello? You guys good? Anyways, moving on to Amtrak now, and specifically we're going to start with Amtrak's ALC-42, specifically the ones in Phase 6. Now the absolute irony is that I made a video talking about Amtrak's Phase 6 before, specifically on the Charger, so we're going to pull that up.
Notice the gray at the back of an ALC-42? Look on both sides. They're not even. The red arrows are not aligned with each other on both sides. One of them is a little further behind than the other.
Yeah, as my old self said, the gray isn't even fully aligned with each other, and nor is that red arrow. Why? Well, take a look. One side has a vent that's even further back, meaning that because that vent is there, it pushed back the red arrow on the left side of the Charger. But they didn't do it for the right side of the Charger. So, that means the left arrow on the left side of the Charger body is actually much further back than the right arrow on the right side of the Charger. Are you kidding me? Also, I should mention how Phase 6 looks pretty bland. As a matter of fact, Amtrak Surfliner, Amtrak California, Amtrak Cascades, and maybe Phase 7 for Amtrak looks pretty bland. And the biggest culprit, or rather the biggest screw up, is Amtrak California with a paint scheme that doesn't even align with anything. Not the bi-levels, and not even the Venture coaches. And honestly, I'm pretty sure there was a Venture concept for the paint scheme, but oh well, here we are, I guess. I'm not even going to mention how the cab car looks. Goodness me. But now you see the point that I'm making. Siemens really just absolutely cut the corners in terms of paint schemes, but I guess it's an effort to get everything out, even though it means everything looks visually unappealing now. Oh well, I guess that's just the new reality with anything from Siemens. Anyway, that'll pretty much end this video. See ya.